Alright, so today the second season of Chainsaw Man was finally announced, and I say finally as if it's actually even been that long. It hasn't even been a year since I went and saw it in theaters, but anyway, today the second season of Chainsaw Man was announced during Studio Mappa's 15th anniversary live stream event, I believe it was, and it was announced alongside a Chainsaw Man mobile game and part 2 of Jujutsu Kaisen's Culling arc, or Jujutsu Kaisen Season 4. What really stuck out to me about the Chainsaw Man Season 2 trailer that we got was that the art style, the aesthetic presentation was basically like a sort of middle ground between Season 1's more detailed, cinematic, 3D-esque approach and the sort of minimalistic, kage-nashi, super flat-esque look of the Reize arc movie. Now, in many ways, it's very similar to the look of the Reize arc movie, which makes sense. It has the same director and the same character designer working on it. So it does have kind of that simplistic character design, almost super flat look, similar to the manga's art style and character designs, but it's no longer like fully kage-nashi. Pretty much every shot that I saw in the trailer featuring the characters featured somewhat detailed shadow work. And the backgrounds also really stood out to me. Most of these backgrounds were like huge, wide shot, cinematic, very textural, kind of painterly, and once again with lots of details in the shadow work. Kind of a cinematic look and kind of a retro-esque look, given how much detail goes into these. I can imagine some of these backgrounds just kind of sitting on screen as a still for a couple of seconds, and it would be totally fine, very reminiscent of more old school anime. But all in all, I would say like in Season 1 we had the very cinematic, like highly detailed, very textural, detailed line work, lots of shadows, very almost like 3D rendered look to the characters when you've seen them in motion, and also of course featuring lots of very detailed and dynamic 3D and CG work, even when it was just like 2D assets in 3D environments. Then we move to the Reize arc aesthetic, and we have sort of a kage-nashi, almost like straight up super flat look, basically no shadow usage in the vast majority of scenes, or at least scenes limited to single simple light sources and simple one-dimensional shadows. Going very hard back in the other direction, fairly simple line art, kind of like an animation refined version of the manga's character designs and art. Once again, with basically no shadows, or at least scenes limited to one level of shadow only, or one quote-unquote flat light source. Not multiple light sources from multiple directions, and multiple cast shadows from the character themselves, like onto their own body. Less complex, detailed shadows, and way more color. Very little in the way of like obvious 3D and CG work, outside of, like explosion effects and the like. But of course, like, while the movie retained lots of the, cinematic scene layouts and the like, it once again had this very, like, kage-nashi, super flat, but very dynamic look to it. And now that I'm looking at the trailer for Season 2, once again, it really feels like it's kind of going into the middle ground, even though it's, once again, the same director, also the same character designer, the same guy working on the script as worked on the movie, a lot of people carrying over to Season 2. It's once again gone, like, just a little bit correcting back in the other direction, I would argue, with a little more detailed textural stuff, more shadow work, pretty much consistently throughout every shot that I've seen characters in. There was one scene which was like super reminiscent of the look of the Reize arc movie, and it was of course the scene of Kobeni's car like flying into frame, but if you'll notice, like right after that shot, Power and Kobeni both pop into the frame, and once again you can see very obvious shadow work on their faces, on their hands, on their clothes, under their hair, in Power's mouth, even in the scene where it's, kind of super flat, super stylized, showing off that dynamic shot of Kobeni's car flying on the screen. And while some of these may still be simple one light source scenes where there's basically just the regular brightness and the shadow brightness and nothing else, there are a couple in this trailer alone which have multiple levels of shadow and light, or at least more complex light sources and cast shadows, blah blah blah.
Alright dude, I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about.
Anyways, I did really love the trailer, and those are basically my thoughts on the sort of visual transformation from Season 1 to the Reize arc movie to Season 3. season 2. But anyways, obviously, so long as you even read the title of the trailer, you'll know that what this is preparing us for is the Assassin's arc. So I'd like to talk a little bit about the story to come. If you don't want to know absolutely anything about what's to come, you can dip out right here. I'll totally understand it. I'm not going to spoil anything, just wanted to kind of give an idea of what we have to look forward to, since I've obviously read all of part 1 and most of part 2. And the Assassin's arc is absolutely one of my favorite arcs from the manga. But anyway, so the Assassin's arc is basically the natural follow-up to the Reize arc. Now that Reize has failed to assassinate Denji and capture Chainsaw Man's heart, basically, the world's 3 great military powers have decided to each hire their own set of assassins to send to assassinate Denji and steal Chainsaw Man's heart. So, from America, you have
2 brothers.
No, not really. 3 brothers. These 3 kind of bombastic American bravado, totally full of themselves, think that they're the best thing since sliced bread types. They sort of have like a Three Stooges kind of dynamic, but also, once again, this American bravado, like they really think of themselves as like the greatest hunter, assassin, secret agent types to have ever walked the earth.
And you better bet your bottom dollar that these 2 brothers know how to handle business.
And are constantly talking each other and themselves up on their mission to complete their job, assassinate Denji, and steal a Chainsaw Man heart. Which might sound totally ridiculous and like something that could be annoying, but I promise, if you're anything like me, you're really gonna love these guys. I found them absolutely hilarious, and also honestly pretty easy to root for in a sense. Even though they're total idiots, they still have this really sincere brotherly bond between the 3 of them that really kind of makes you want to root for them, even though they're trying to kill the main character who you really love.
But let's get back to the brothers, because they have a strong bond. You don't want to know about it here, but I'll tell you one thing.
Anyway, the second group is this pair. I can't remember if they're a couple or if they're brother and sister, but it's this guy and gal from Russia. They basically seem to live in the forest, and they're both like, once again, like assassin slash hunter types, but in this case, like literal hunter types. And the dynamic is sort of like the seemingly older lady has this very mature, cool, calm, like she seems like a weathered veteran assassin type. And then the guy seems to be like a hunter type, like he literally just got done hunting their meal, but he seems like he kind of has something to prove. He's, you know, have faith in me, Olga. I know how to kill a man. You know, he's got that kind of thing going on. You can tell that he's experienced, but also he seems like he sort of has something to prove to the seemingly older, more mature lady. And I won't say much beyond that. I obviously don't want to spoil too much, but I will just say there might be a little more to these guys and a little more to Russia than you might expect. And then third, last but certainly not least of all, hailing from China, we have what seems to be a veteran official licensed hunter turned assassin for whatever reason. An older, weathered, veteran hunter lady who has this entire band of female groupies who follow her around and are very much, you know, her ride or dies. It's 4 or 5 of these absolutely beautiful, terrifying, retarded lesbians who would march to the ends of the earth and die for this woman without a second thought. And once again, this group has a lot of interesting twists and turns, and also just really iconic kind of set piece moments from the manga. Like, I'm really interested to see how they handle one of this chick's powers in the anime, because you know, between these guys, without spoiling anything, this is once again one of those points in the story where we see on 2 different occasions, I believe, these almost fourth wall breaking type events, type of devil powers, where when you're reading the manga, it's almost as if it's presented as if the devils are like operating from outside of the manga and affecting it from some other dimension. It's difficult to describe if you haven't read the manga, but kind of like the way the Cursed Devil from season 1 was. Not presented exactly the same way as it was in the manga, where it's just like you see the finger like reaching in from just outside of the manga panel and flicking the nail, and it really feels like this thing that's in another dimension outside of the manga realm and outside of the realm of reality. I'm just really curious, how are they going to present these kind of things? Because some of the most extreme examples of that stuff happens in the Assassin's arc, and yeah, I mean, I just can't wait to see how they're going to present that. I really hope that they get as clever and creative and as fourth wall breaking, over the top as they can with it. But I don't want to get my hopes up too high for how they're going to handle that kind of stuff. And I do think it'll be awesome, even if they just go for, you know, kind of the basic cinematic approach to presenting it. But just something that I'm really excited about. I cannot wait to see if this is going to be one core. I definitely think I know exactly where the cliffhanger is going to be. If we get 2 cores with this, it's going to be absolutely wild. It's going to be absolutely wild, because we are quickly approaching, and I know this seems insane to say if you've been watching Chainsaw Man and seeing how insane and unhinged and out there it already is, but we are quickly approaching the point where the story goes to some really sick metal places.
Evil motherfucker, black magic, darkness.
So yeah, I mean, I don't want to spoil any particulars, so all that I'll say cryptically is darkness is coming. Hell is coming. And you should be excited for it, because the next 1 or 2 seasons are going to be covering some of the absolute best, in my opinion, source material from the manga. And I know at this point it's kind of cliche. People pretty much say that every time they're trying to hype up the new season or the new movie or whatever, and a ton of people said it about the Reize arc. I like the Reize arc, and I totally understand why people love it. It's obviously like the big, oh my god, romance moment from the series, and it also kind of represents the first like cross city action romp devil v devil fight, like really showing off what these entities are capable of on a large scale. We're obviously going to be getting more of the latter here, but overall, just like as far as boundary pushing content and like fascinating conceptual content, like building the world of Chainsaw Man and showing us more interesting things about the dynamic between countries within this world and between, you know, different entities, between devils and humans and fiends and all that sort of stuff. And just watching the world and the lore of Chainsaw Man begin to unfold, and you know, you begin to see just how truly insane it can be, and also how utterly insane Denji can be. That's another thing that probably sounds very obvious, but believe me, in the arc to come, you're gonna see Denji and you're gonna see Chainsaw Man do some things that are just completely unhinged, completely insane. Some of the fighting tactics that he engages in this arc while fighting the assassins is stuff that's like, what a retard, but I mean, I guess that makes sense, yeah? It's effective in the way that you can only really imagine Denji approaching fights. But anyway, I feel like I'm kind of waffling at this point, so I'll wrap it up there. Hopefully I've done a good job of hyping things up while kind of dancing around the spoilers and breaking down what I feel like is a pretty interesting evolution of the visual identity of the Chainsaw Man anime. And yeah, I'm super excited. I'm just gonna throw down a little B-roll here and there when I'm talking about visuals. But other than that, I'm gonna try to mostly leave things alone here and try and get this shipped out the night of the announcement. It's already 9:30 p.m. as I'm finishing recording this. I do have a day job, by the way, just in case anyone is wondering. So it can be kind of difficult to get these things edited and out the day of. But other than that, I'm going to be right back to work on a big, like basically fully edited 30-minute long Witch Hat Adelier impressions as of episode 11. So that's going to be coming really soon. And other than that, a ton of kind of sporadic, all over the place anime and video game content, and I hope that you're looking forward to all of it. I know things have been kind of scattershot recently, but there is going to be more just anime content, fully edited, coming, including some shorter, simpler videos, and including some stuff that I've been wanting to talk about some older anime as well as just some highfalutin bullshit. One, for example, that I've really been wanting to record and start editing is a little something called I Used to Love Anime, I Still Do, but I Used to too. Some more highfalutin general topic stuff like that as well as another one that's already in the editing bay titled Is the Anime Community Becoming the Video Game Community? You know, just some more highfalutin general concept type stuff like that as well. So I hope that you'll look forward to that. I've got plenty of different stuff on the way, including lots of anime stuff. But anyway, I'm just yapping. It's been fun. Hope you've enjoyed this video, and peace as always.